second song I wrote when I worked here, and I played it here a whole bunch, and with my friend and former colleague Aaron Murnahan, who played fiddle on this with me a lot all the time. And it was written, it started my first summer here talking to the granddaughter of Captain Taylor, the last captain. And she was an older lady living in Vancouver. In August, my first year, we're at on the after deck there by the auxiliary wheel. And she starts talking about her memories of being on it as a little girl. And she was glad that we were preserving it and someone cared so much about it. And it kept her grandfather's memory alive. And I'm like, who was your grandfather? And she's like, oh, Captain Taylor. And I'm like, oh. And tears in her eyes. She loved my tour. I was telling all the standard stories that we would tell on the tours. And she said, you really care about it. I can tell you care about this vessel. And I said, well, I've been coming on this vessel for years. I said, before I worked here, doing music with Steve and working on the Halifax explosion story. We did a lot of the early writing aboard on her. And then later that fall, there was a tropical storm. And Steve asked me if I'd stay aboard one night. He needed a hand aboard because of the storm and the storm surge and the winds. And I was playing over at O'Carroll's, and I came over after I finished my gig at O'Carroll's. And I remember being below and hearing the sound of the gangway on the wharf and her lines. And it's like, it sounded to me like a vessel chomping at the bits to go back to sea. So when I got home that morning after a couple hours sleep, I took the memory of Captain Taylor's granddaughter, who I never ever asked her name, which I kicked myself for not doing. And then just being aboard and hearing all these sounds, that I never heard before. And it's just called CSS Acadia. Through 2 wars and our city's darkest day, from Newcastle west to the Hudson Bay, through the Maritimes and more, or the coast of Labrador, 60 years you'd work the survey trade. Oh, one spring day back in 1913, from Swan and Hunter Yard you put to sea, off to Canada you struck, with skill, God's will and luck, to make your mark in our country's history. Well, every port you'd stay, an impression grand you made. So many firsts, Acadia so proud. For half a century and more you put to sea. Acadia by far the best around. Acadia by far the best around. Well, decked out in your finest, we attest. Technology and the toil they did invest. For that job you had to do, much depended just on you. Business you were in would take no less. From Pictou, where you spent much early time, to Halifax, your home once you retired. Oh, the ice, the Arctic cold, so distant I'd suppose, but I bet you'd love to give it one more try, and hear the icy howl and the voice crowd. Acadia to see a trailing smoke, and feel the pack ice pound all upon you steep now. Acadia to give it one more go. Acadia by far the best you know. Now names like Captain Taylor we recall through the summer months and on into the fall. From the seaman's mess and aft, through the wardroom many pass, old kith and kin found time to pay a call. The chart road to the Peel Square and and the galley where the grub they say was best. Well, a tear comes to the eye, and their words always kind. Oh, CSS Acadia, so blessed, and rocking at your berth in a wind that's from north. Acadia, it's calling out to you, chafing at your bits, or the yearning never quits. Acadia, at heart you're not that old. Yes, rocking at your berth in a wind that's from the north. Acadia, it's calling out to you, chafing at your bits, and the yearning never quits. Acadia, by far the best around. Acadia, by far the best around. Acadia, by far the best.